So today's topic is another very important current affair from your Indian economy point of view. That is in relation to a disinvestment of India's national carrier, air carrier, that is Air India. Now you need to understand why this is a very important current affair. It's important because it was in news in February 2017 and also in June 2017. In February 2017, Niti Aayog have recommended to the government, the government's think tank have recommended the government to go for strategic disinvestment. Secondly, in June, the Union Cabinet have given in principle approval to sell off or strategic disinvestment of Air India. Now, since it has become a very important current affair topic, and since in your Indian economy, aviation or airport or infrastructure is there, you can expect a question on this issue of strategic disinvestment of Air India. Now, since it's a very important current affair, we need to have a brief idea about Air India. What is the status of Air India? Now, try to understand that if a question been asked, what should be your introduction or what you need to write about Air India? There are certain things you need to. First, you can say that okay, it is India's national air carrier, where 100% of Air India is government owned, and the Air India has not only aircraft, it also have a lot of fleet is there. It also have 5 subsidiaries, including Air India Express, and it is also verging into other areas. So Air India has 5 subsidiaries, and it also have a lot of prime real estate in different parts of the country. So keep this in mind. So it has other assets also, as in the form of real estate, and subsidiaries. Now, if you look into the Air India's financial position, okay, Air India for a quite long time is in loss. So since it is its prime or its national air carrier, you need to write this in your point. Okay, the government, okay, in 2011, a consortium of public sector bank have given a debt relief in the form of reducing the interest rate of its working capital, and also in 2012, this is very, very, very important. Okay, in all the news, whenever this lot of articles from almost all the newspaper, national newspaper, have pointed this point. That's why you need to write in your answer, because it's a very key point that in 2012, the UPA government at that time have given a massive bailout package to revive or turn around Air India. So 30,000 crore bailout package have been given by the union government in 2012, that is the UPA government 2012. So even after 5 years, so this what status is that even after giving a massive bailout package of 30,000 crore in 2012 and a debt relief by the public sector banks, it is still, Air India have not improved its services to the extent what the government was expecting, and Air India is still not viable. In the 2015-16 data, the debt of Air India is 46,000 crore. So if you look into the new financial year, it has touched around 50,000 crore. So presently, Air India is having a debt of nearly 50,000 crore. So this is the reason why even the earlier government, successive government have done to revive or turn around Air India, the government could not able to do so. It has spent lot of taxpayers' money. So finally, after the opinion of the government think tank Niti Aayog, recently the government have taken a decision to strategically disinvest Air India. So you need to keep in mind, the strategic disinvestment means it will be privatizing Air India, where a private company will take over, because it will be having a shareholder. So we are expecting that the government is going to sell 100% of its share to a private company. So this is status. Okay. So what the Niti Aayog have suggested, you need to keep in mind, okay. So presently Air India is a loss making company and its debt is nearly 50,000 crore. So in 2015-16 it is saying it is having a debt of 46,000 crore. So presently it is somewhere around 50,000 crore. Now what Niti Aayog suggested is, it suggested a strategic disinvestment. It said that, okay, the reason what it says that it should go for strategic, Air India should be solved and it should go for strategic disinvestment. The reason it said it's Air India is loss making and it's debt laden. And what it suggested is, all non-aircraft related debt. So this is a very controversial suggestion, we have to see it, okay. What it suggested is all the non-aircraft related debt should be written off. So where this fund will come from regarding this? So it is somewhere coming around nearly half of the or nearly more than 20,000 crore of the debt. So if it is written off as suggested by the Niti Aayog, again directly or indirectly it is going to affect the taxpayers' money. So, and what it said that, so after writing off this non-aircraft related debt, then what will be left is, the Air India will be having a 21,000 crore, that mainly due to, that debt is mainly due to for aircraft, and it is having a working capital loan of 8,000 crore. So what, by doing so, what Niti Aayog was expecting is that there will be a taker to take by Air India. So we will discuss regarding this issue, whether is there any better option to sell Air India. But anyway, now the group of ministers headed by, already as per the cabinet approval, a group of ministers have been formed headed by the finance minister Arun Jaitley, and he will be soon making a plan to how to sell off this Air India. Now this is the status regarding Air India. Now if a question comes on regarding Air India disinvestment issue, what all points you have to write in your mains, that's very important, okay. So one important point you should write is that, never miss that already the UPA government 5 years back have given a bailout package of 30,000 crore. Even after giving a bailout package, still the Air India is having a near debt of 50,000 crore. This point you should never miss it. Now you should understand, or you need to write depending upon the question can be from different dimension. Okay, what is the reason for this loss of Air India? One of the major reason for the losses for Air India is that, okay, already it's clear that it has to pay a huge amount. So it has to mean in the form of interest. It has to pay a huge amount in the form of interest. So another word, we use the word debt servicing. So debt servicing is one of the main issue which made Air India a continuously loss making company. Why? Its earnings, what all it earned, what all Air India have earned have been used for servicing its debt or to pay interest. So what has happened is, the Air India could not able to go for fresh investment. See, especially in a competitive area like aviation, if it want to survive, it should have gone for fresh investment in purchasing new aircraft, in going for new routes. But since it didn't have fund for fresh investment because of debt servicing issue, it has reduced the route expansion plan. So Air India could not able to expand its route. Another issue is because of lack of investment is it could not able to upgrade its services. So the major reason for Air India's loss is that most of the earning it have made, it has been used for servicing the debt or paying interest, and it didn't have money to go for fresh investment. So never miss this point on debt servicing. So another reason for Air India's losses, you know that since it is a government owned company, it was managed for years by bureaucrats, And bureaucratic inefficiency or mismanagement is another reason for, like in many loss-making public sector companies, where bureaucratic inefficiency or political, along with bureaucratic inefficiency or mismanagement, when political interference also you can write as the reason for the loss. So this is another reason. Then you can say that, okay, operational inefficiency in relation to the workforce, the government workforce or Air India's employees commitment is, you can say that one of the reason. Or you can say that, okay, the fleet expansion where the Air India have gone for, it was not a wise decision. It has used injudicious manner, it has gone for fleet expansion. in meanwhile, it has gone for the merger with Indian Airlines have also affected, or another reason for Air India's loss. That reason you can mention. Then this is a very, very important point. High fuel prices. The fuel prices used for airline, that is aviation turbine fuel. High fuel prices, it's not only have impacted Air India, it have affected many private airlines also. Since the government have imposed high cost on all the fuels, including the aviation fuel, it has impacted. So the majority of the cost, majority of the amount, the expenses is used to purchase for fuel, that is aviation fuel. So high fuel prices have been one of the major reason, not only for Air India, but for other industry also. So high fuel prices, only in 2015-16 and 15-16 mainly, the prices have come down. Now again, the prices is coming up. So this is again will affect the Air India's losses. Then another important, okay, now aviation sector is having high competition. Air India have to now compete with private players. So because of lack of investment, then operational inefficiency have all resulted in Air India losing its market share. Now presently Air India hold only 15% of the market share, 85% of the passenger traffic is being handled by the private airlines. So you can give all these points, but the most important point you need to stress is on debt servicing. Never miss this point on debt servicing. That's the reason why there's consecutive losses happening in relation to Air India. So what all it earns, that it have to spend for paying its interest. But other points also you can write depending upon the question. Okay, if the question is not asking for why Air India is in losses, no, don't mention too much. You can just add only this point. Now there are so many people who support this. Means if there is a question on what are the reasons, if the question is the reason to support disinvestment of the national air carrier, you can give these points. Okay, first important thing is that, okay, this business, basically this aviation business is a commercial business. So you can say that there is no reason. Okay, presently the present philosophy of the government, that what the present government have a philosophy that minimum government, maximum governance. If that philosophy has to be followed, the government should not be there in running a commercial airline, or it should not be there in commercial operations. Okay, and plus already the private sector which take, means already the market share in this commercial airline or aviation, 85% is with the private sector, and they are doing a fair job. So since private sector is doing a fair job and running means it's not the job to run commercial operations, it's better for the government withdraw from this sector. And it also has stick to its philosophy of minimum government and maximum governance. You can give that point. Second is that the conflict of interest perspective. Try to understand that the government made policy, aviation policy is made by the government, and the aviation regulator is appointed by the government, and also the government have a commercial stake in the form of Air India. So these three things doesn't match, it always results in conflict of interest. So since the government makes policy, appoints regulator and also run a commercial airline, it hampers competition between the private sector and the airline, means the government sector airline. So it's always good that in order to avoid conflict of interest and to promote competition, better the government should withdraw from this aviation, means in running commercial operations in aviation, should withdraw from it. Another thing is that, okay, the Air India, which is a highly debt-ridden airline, is now surviving on taxpayers' money. This is a very important point. It is surviving on taxpayers' money. It is surviving on taxpayers' money. Air India is surviving on taxpayers' money. Now why the government should spend so much of money for aviation? It's not a core activity of the government. Okay, why should the government can use its resources in such area like social infrastructure, especially in health, where there is no private sector participation. Especially in health sector, it's better to use this taxpayers' money on sectors like health, education, etc., where the private sector is less interested. Regarding this running a commercial airline, and already the private sector is doing a fair job, let them do it. So this is another valid point to support Air India disinvestment. Then another point is that, okay, already the Air India is in debt trap. Already we mentioned this point, okay, already Air India is in debt trap. It means that all the earnings it makes is being used to service its debt or to pay interest. So it is not in a position to go for fresh investment. So a debt company, the best option is to go for selling it off. So you can give that point. Then already private airlines, they are bringing fresh investment. Because of they are adding capacity. So private airlines is adding capacity. At the same time, Air India could not able to do it because it does not have enough resources. So what is happening? It is losing its market share, and it already lost 85% of the market share to private airlines. You can give this valid point also. And the last point you can mention is that, okay, even after repeated packages, including this latest 2012 UPA government bailout package of 30,000 crore, the airline could not able to iron out its operational flows. It's still having the same problem. So all you can suggest, these points you can give to support Air India's disinvestment strategies which the government have taken. Now if there are some people, there are versions which are against this Air India disinvestment. So mainly the major thing, okay, there are people who support or Air India to be continued. They have their own version. That so few points you can mention. Okay, since there are very few points to continue Air India as a national air carrier, you can mention, depending upon the question, you can just highlight the issues, which all sector or what are the the reason you can give to support to Air India as to continue it, or what all the government have to be taken care of when the government sell off its national air carrier. Now main thing, it's a very important point, okay, 25,000 employees, Air India have now nearly 25,000 employees. So what will happen to their fate? That's a very big concern. Okay, so when Air India is going for a strategic sale, it should ensure that these 25,000 employees job is secure. What all they are having, what all benefits they are having, what all benefits they are getting, they should be made secure. So that should be one of the criteria on which the Air India should be sold off. It should not affect the fate of these 25,000 employees. It's a very valid point. You have to stress it. When the government, if it is going for strategic sale of Air India, this should be taken care of. Then the people argue who support, who are against this strategic disinvestment, they say that, okay, see the rehabilitation package which started in 2012, it is for a long year, 10 years. Already 5 years has passed. It is saying that it requires more time. But if you look into the reality, after 5 years, we are not seeing any improvement. So these are the proposals with the people who are against making, but it's not sound valid. It's not sounding valid. Okay, but you can give this support. Maybe see, the main reason is that high fuel prices. But already in 2015-16, there have been they are suggesting that in 2015-16, Air India could make a net profit. But CAG have doubt over its balance sheet. But again, in 2016, again because of high aviation prices, fuel prices, in 2016 again things have changed. So the debate, you can say that okay, you can, if you want to support or if you are against strategic decision, depending upon the question, you can use this point. Another reason, the people who are against saying that okay, the major reason for Air India's loss is like in other airliners, high fuel prices, and they are having a limited number of high traffic routes. High traffic routes are those routes which make any airline profitable. So like Air India is having very limited number of better routes which make them profitable. So rather it is using many routes which the Air India is serving as a national carrier are non-profitable. So it's not its reason for it, because as a government carrier, unlike private airline, it have to run on those means it have to run on those routes which is not at all profitable. As a government obligation, means as the government obligation, it has run many non-profitable routes. So this is another reason which the people said. So because of high fuel prices, and it has, Air India is running many non-profitable routes. That is one of the reason for Air India's loss. So again, it's again a valid point, which if you depending upon the question, you can use it. Now, these are the arguments against supporting disinvestment, against disinvestment. But there are certain issues. There are see, the government have taken a decision to sell Air India. But who will purchase such a loss-making company? That's a big issue involved in it. There's a very big issue involved in who will purchase this, even though Indigo airline have shown some interest, okay, depending upon what the government have to give a proper clarity. So there are a lot of issues. One important issue is that in an airline which is having a 50,000 crore, who will come and purchase it? So that's a major issue. Then there are other issues, especially the FDI policy. Okay, please note down, it's not there in the material. Just give importance to this FDI policy in aviation. So you have to mention this depending on what are the issues. Questions can be like this. The government have taken a decision on strategic disinvestment. So what are the issues involved in selling government's Air India or strategic disinvestment of Air India? What are the roadblocks or major issues involved in it? Then you can highlight these points. So one issue is the government FDI policy itself in relation to aviation. See, this FDI policy says that 49% of if any Indian scheduled and for scheduled and non-scheduled air transport, okay, for scheduled and non-scheduled air transport services, if the Indian company, see, any foreign airline can acquire 49% of Indian scheduled and non-scheduled air transport companies. So 49% is allowed for foreign airlines, but recently in the consolidated foreign direct investment policy, the government have clearly mentioned that this rule, FDI policy of acquiring 49% by foreign airline, is not applicable to Air India. So this is one very big issue. So by this decision by the government, so in the general FDI policy it says that okay, FDI policy, foreign airlines can acquire 49% of scheduled and non-scheduled air transport, but it's clearly saying that it is not applicable to Air India. So it means that foreign airline can't take over Air India, even though it is allowing only 49%, that is ruled out. Foreign airline means acquiring 49% of Air India is being ruled out because of this recent consolidated FDI policy. So that's one issue. Second issue is in relation to employees' resistance. There can be huge employees' resistance when the government take a decision. Already this Air Corporation Employees Union have said that the decision of the government to go for strategic sale is unilateral and arbitrary. So already the employee union have resisted, means already have said are against this move. And if you look into the earlier scheme where as part of its turnaround plan, when the government decided to hive off this engineering and ground handling services as a separate profitable centers, ground handling and engineering as a separate profit centers, employees have earlier resisted it. So how the employee is going to agree with this strategic disinvestment is a big question. So that's another issue. Then see, whatever it is, if the government is going to sell off or strategic disinvestment of Air India, there are a lot of stakeholders involved in it in relation to Air India. So there has to be a massive write-off. I told you that if you go by the Niti Aayog proposal, Niti Aayog has proposed a write-off. If the government is going for a write-off, banks, financial institutions, oil companies, Airport Authority of India, where all are stakeholders in relation to Air India's debt. So this whether they will agree with this massive write-off is another issue. So and I told you that there is, in the present context, it's very difficult to get a taker. So already because of FDI policy, foreign airlines can't take over Air India, and in relation to domestic airline, for such a huge loss-making airline, whether there will be a taker or not is a big question mark. So there are a lot of issues associated with this decision. So what should be your conclusion? So we have discussed these 6 points in relating supporting Air India disinvestment. There are 3 points against this decision. Then there are a lot of issues associated with this disinvestment which the government have to cater into it. So while concluding, depending upon the question, while concluding, you can support by taking into looking into the supporting argument and against argument. Okay, the main support is okay, since Air India is surviving on taxpayers' money, and this is not the government, this money is not, if the there is nothing wrong in using taxpayers' money if the Air India could able to survive and pay back its liability. But even after years, the situation of India is, it's not showing any viability. It's almost running in losses. So since it's losing taxpayers' money or Air India is surviving on taxpayers' money, you can support strategic disinvestment. But while supporting this strategic disinvestment, you have to use this word, okay, the Air India should get the best price. When Air India is being sold off, it should get the best price. For that to happen, the most important thing is that both the domestic and foreign companies or foreign airlines should be in a position to bid freely. But because of this, the latest consolidated policy statement says that foreigner is not allowed, foreign airline is not allowed. So we have to suggest that this policy have to be changed, because both the domestic and foreign airlines have to be bid freely, for then only the Air India will get better price or best price. And you can also suggest that when in a commercial airline operations, any airline have to survive based on passengers' choice and market principle. You can't force an airline to continue. Okay, if you give better services, passenger will choose it. And if you work on market principles, that's the reason why low-cost airline like Indigo have been running in a profitable manner. Okay, so you can use this word depending upon the question. Okay, any airline survival is depending upon the passenger choice and market principle. You can use it in your conclusion. And see, now you try to understand, in order to get to when you sell Air India or to get a taker, a buyer for Air India, the strategic sale should be attractive. Then only you will get a buyer for Air India sale. For that, what you can suggest is, you can suggest that the government should set up a special purpose vehicle. It's not there in the material, please note down, okay. The government should form a special purpose vehicle, and what it should do is, all the unrelated, non-aircraft related or unrelated assets other than aircraft, like real estate and all its 5 subsidiaries. Now try to understand, out of the 5 subsidiaries of Air India, 3 subsidiaries are profitable. So all the real estate and the assets of real estate and 5 subsidiaries assets should be moved, should be given to this special purpose vehicle, and this special purpose vehicle will take over all the debt other than the aircraft. So the government should form a special purpose vehicle. This special purpose vehicle will means the Air India have to hand over all the assets like real estate and 5 subsidiaries to special purpose vehicle, and this special purpose vehicle with this asset will take over all the debt other than aircraft. So what will be the advantages? That then what will be balanced is that only the aircraft and the working capital will be there. So somewhere around this, this will be the Air India's loss, that is 21,000 crore of aircraft loan and working capital loan of 8,000 crore. So what will happen is that there will be a clean balance sheet. The loss, because non-related debt have been cleared off by this special purpose vehicle. Now Air India is having a clean balance sheet with aircraft loan and working capital loan. So if this proposal is being done, there will be a better, means Air India will get a better buyer, and the government can sell it or sold off quickly this airline. So if the Air India is having a clean balance sheet, by forming a special purpose vehicle, Air India will get a better buyer. But the government have to take, you have to suggest this recommendation, because in the present scenario the government have not taken a decision to get a better price and to sell the Air India in a quick manner. Now try to understand, as any delay in selling of Air India will result in losing out our taxpayers' money. So it's always good, a loss making airline should be sold off at the earliest so that it can save taxpayers' money. So this suggestion you can give in order to handle this issue of there will be no buyer to get Air India or to purchase Air India in the present context because of huge losses. And while concluding, you can use this word, okay, the government can use this opportunity. The government can use opportunity by selling the Air India. It can show that, okay, it can show that the government, the governing philosophy, it can commit to its governing philosophy of minimum government and maximum governance. So you can conclude that by selling of Air India, the government can show to the entire economy or to entire the world, to multinational companies and other companies, that it is sticking to its governing philosophy of the new governing philosophy of minimum government and maximum governance, and the government have no role in running a business. So by using this, by committing to its governing philosophy, new governing philosophy of minimum government and maximum governments, so by selling of Air India, the government can commit to its philosophy of minimum government and maximum governance. This can be your conclusion. So if you conclude in this manner, it will fetch you a better mark for your mains. Now in telling that you can't write all these points because your question will be for 200 words. See, question can be with different dimension. Depending upon the demand of the question, you can use these points and you can answer a very good answer, and if you conclude it in such a manner, you can score well also. Thank you.